When the enemy's within me, picture me, my identity's when they're checking my pedigree. This is my autobiography, more than a philosophy. Life is living and I gotta be driven, given my history, rising above the odds of World War Who? You, World War Who? It's up, World War Who? It's true, I think we're fighting ourselves. World War Who? World War Who? It's you, World War Who? It's up, I think I'm fighting myself.
Hey guys, welcome to another edition of the World War U podcast. I'm your host as always, Mansfield, and today I'm super excited about the topic that I want to talk about, which is the home court advantage or the home crowd advantage. Now, I'm sure most of us watched the Euro 20 finals where Italy won against England in a penalty shootout, and also I'm guessing a lot of people watched the NBA finals where the Bucks won against the Phoenix Suns. And I was just having a few conversations about how big name players choke when it actually matters. And one of my mates said something that just got me thinking that they choke because they are not playing at home. And this just got me thinking that, is this home court advantage thing a real thing? Like, is it actually something that when you're playing or when you're executing at the level that these athletes play at, should home court advantage be a thing? And so through those discussions, I really got inspired to come and have this conversation with you, the podcast world, that is home court advantage or a home crowd advantage, is it actually a thing? And personally, what I learned or what I figured out was there's a certain level that you get to execute at that the environment that you execute in should not matter. And I say this because imagine if you watch the Euro 2020 final, right? Italy won on a penalty shootout, but one of their best penalty takers, who is Jorginho, who's probably one of the best penalty takers in our generation as well, missed the last penalty. Now, if you had watched a few games before in the semi-final, he scored probably one of the best penalties of the tournament. But that same person, because they were playing at Wembley, which is in England and not in Italy, or it was because of the home crowd and he just felt the pressure, he missed the penalty. Now, I won't go into detail with the England penalty takers, but 3 of them missed in succession. And they had the home advantage. They were playing at home. They had the home crowd advantage, but they could not execute at that level. So this really got me to think that, okay, if certain players who are playing away can play better or can do better than players who are playing at home, is the home court advantage actually a thing? Because when I look at it, this is what I look at. Like, the basketball ring does not change in size because you're playing away or because you're not playing, you're playing at home. So the ring is not bigger or the board gets smaller when you travel, when you go on the road. So if you're playing away, the same principles, the same system applies. But what I noticed is that the only thing that changes is your mindset. The only thing that changes is your mindset. So everything physically is where it's supposed to be. You are the only different factor. So the way that you think when you get into a game is the only thing that changes in this whole thing. And this got me to think that if certain players, if the great of the greats can execute at a high level, regardless of which environment they're in, what then forces the ordinary guy to choke? What is it? So what's the difference between this? So I did a little research, and I did some research on Tom Brady, who's arguably the greatest quarterback that we've ever seen play the game. And when he left New England Patriots, there were a lot of people who were saying that he is never going to achieve the same greatness that he achieved with New England Patriots with any other team. And the reasoning behind that was they called him a system quarterback. So what they were simply saying is that Tom Brady was built or was made by the New England Patriots system, and he cannot function outside that system. And though this is true for a lot of people, there's a certain group of individuals that cannot be boxed in, essentially. There's a certain group of people that you cannot keep in a specific place or in a specific system because their greatness is outside. There's no boundary to their greatness. And we all know the Tom Brady story where he left New England Patriots and then went and won a Super Bowl championship. And this is in front of people who say that he's not going to replicate this kind of success anywhere else because he's taken himself out of the system. And this got me to think that, so if New England Patriots has got a system that creates good quarterbacks, that means that Tom Brady in himself is a system because he managed to take himself out of the New England Patriots and replicate the same thing with a different team that did not have his system in place. So he went in and put his own system into play and he ran with that play and he won a championship. So I got to think that as individuals, as people, there are situations that we get into or we're put through in life. There are circumstances or obstacles that we face in life. And we face these obstacles as a way to test us. But our response to them, because we are not familiar to the environment that we're in, our response is different than if we were to face the same situation in an environment that we are familiar with. And personally, I'm not trying to remove myself from the same thing, but I feel more comfortable at home. Like you can visit your friend's house, but you're not comfortable to do certain things. You're not comfortable to relax in a certain way because it's not your space. I understand that. But at a level where we need to be executing, be it in business, be it in school, be it in ministry, be it whatever purpose you're called to do, there's a certain level of execution that the environment should not limit or dictate how you execute your purpose. So I believe that there's need for us to get to a place where the situation or the environment does not dictate how we handle the situation, but it is inside of us. The environment that is inside of us is what dictates how we deal with the situation or the obstacle that is in front of us. I read a saying online that said that you never rise to the occasion, but you always revert back to your training. You never rise up to the occasion, but you always revert back to your training. And what I understood with that statement is that there is no such thing as I'm waiting for something big to happen for me to do big. If you were not doing big from the jump, no matter how big your obstacle is, you are not going to be able to overcome it because you are not prepared. You have not trained for such a situation. So you look at the biblical story of David and Goliath, where David defeated Goliath to the amazement of everyone. But if you were to follow the story from start to finish, you realize that Goliath had no chance to win against David at all. For the simple reason that Goliath had never fought a shepherd before. 2, he had not fought a boy that was David's age. But in contrast, David had been fighting animals which were way bigger than he was. So he was used to defeating giants. So he did not need the home court advantage or the home crowd advantage because the home crowd advantage was inside him. The environment that got him to win was not external, it was internal. So a lot of us fail to internalize our environment or our strengths when it comes to us pursuing our purpose because we are waiting for the environment to be right. So we're waiting for the environment to be okay. We're waiting for the storms to be calm for us to actually start moving. But if we say in ourselves, I've got peace inside me, that is what's going to come out of you and then affect the environment that you're walking in. So I just wanted to take this time to just tell people that we need to debunk this whole I've got the home court advantage, because like I said, the penalty spot is still the same number of yards it is, whether you're playing at home, whether you're playing away. The basketball court does not change in size because you're playing away. The ring is not moved, it's not changed. The backboard is not higher or smaller. It's still the same thing. The basketball is the same size. The soccer ball is the same size. So you cannot then tell me that there's an external force that allows other players or other athletes to excel and execute at a higher level. But in that same game, you have people who are failing to execute at any level because they are playing away from home. And this just gets me to say that the greats will always be above the average executors. The greats will always be better than the average person because they create this environment for themselves. They are not going to wait for the situation or for the environment to be okay for them to do what they need to do. They do what they need to do, and the environment needs to conform. I'm sure we've all heard of the Michael Jordan flu game. He was still scoring more points than people who were not feeling sick. He was still scoring more points than people who were not feeling sick. Now, we might want to give excuses. We might want to say, okay, I couldn't do this because of 1, 2, 3 things. But that's just you running away from your responsibility, because when you are playing at the level that Michael Jordan was playing, there is no excuses. There is no excuse that people will take. You are there to do a job. You are there to do it at the best of your ability. There is no such thing as excuses when you're executing at that level. And I guess that's where a lot of us fail to reach our greatest potential, because we are more worried about the external than the internal. So like I said, you do not rise to the occasion. You revert back to your training. So what are you doing to prepare yourself for that grand stage? Now, a lot of us run the risk of, when we actually train or when we prepare, we train for what people can actually see. So we train for what people can actually see. We want people to see that I've put on more muscle. We want people to see that my pace is now better. We want people to see that I've grown taller. But what we do not work on is our mindset. The things that people don't see, we don't want to work on, because there's no balloons, there's no noise about things that people don't see. We are a generation that wants to see things before we can actually, for affirmation. We want people to see that, oh, your chest is now bigger. But your chest being bigger does not help you deal with the 30,000, 40,000 crowd that is counting you down when you're at the free throw line. Or that 90,000 crowd that is booing you before you take a penalty. They don't care how big your calves or your thighs are. So your mindset, your mentality needs to be in the place that you can hear those 90,000 voices, but be able to say, I've been here before. I've seen this before. This is how I'm supposed to do it. You need to get to a place where those voices do not disturb you. You need to be able to be in a peaceful and a calm environment, because you are not pushed by the external forces around you, but you are pushed by the internal forces inside you. And that's just what I want to leave people with today, that debunk this home court advantage business. You need to train for you to be able to execute at any level, in any environment that you're put in. Whatever business it is, you need to have the business acumen to run that business. Whichever country that business is in, you still need to have the right acumen to run that business. But if you do not have that, you are going to be more comfortable with running a business in your own home than outside of your house, because you do not actually have the tools to help you manipulate that environment in a manner that will make you grow. So that's just what I wanted to touch base on today. I hope this helps someone. We need to debunk the home court advantage, because the systems at play are still the same. The only different thing is you're wearing an away jersey and the opposition team is wearing a home kit, and there's just a louder noise. So you need to get yourself to a level where you can quiet down the voices inside you and quiet down the voices that are outside of you. I hope this is going to help someone. And with that, we just want to say we love you. We'll catch you again on the next one.
World War Who? You. World War Who? It's up. World War Who? It's true. I think we're fighting ourselves. World War Who? World War Who? It's you. World War Who? It's up. I think I'm fighting myself.